Hey, welcome to Playing for Keeps, the show where we take a deep dive into emotional intelligence, sex, love, adult attachment theory, mental health, therapy, and everything in between that creates great relationships. Your host, DJ, is a certified life coach and emotional intelligence practitioner. She's here to be of service to all the listeners interested in love and relationship. Now, here's your host, DJ.
Hey everybody, it's your girl DJ with Playing for Keeps podcast, and today we have Lori back. She is an astrologer, coach, and Star Wars fanatic who followed her heart to go overseas to be with her Italian partner. She launched her astrology business, and she gets to eat some of the best pasta in the world. Although she has been doing astrology since 1994, she decided to go pro after a career of helping people as a psychotherapist. You can check out her website for astrology news and subscribe to her blog for current astrology news that will be delivered to your inbox. I will have those links below in the show notes. Hey, Lori, how are you today?
Hello, I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I am doing pretty good. So today we are going to dive into the fire signs and who they are compatible to and who they're not compatible to. So I'm going to go ahead and let you take it away.
Okay. Fire signs are dynamic. They are active and very passionate. So there's three fire signs. We have Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. And we'll kick off with Aries. It's the first sign of the zodiac, actually, if you're using Western astrology. And I guess I'll just jump into it. So we're going to look at each of the fire signs with all of the different zodiac signs. So if you are a fire sign, or you are dating a fire sign, or you dated one, or you think you're going to meet one someday, which, I mean, yeah, if you're on the dating scene, you're going to probably meet all 12 signs at some point. I'm going to talk about how you will get along with the other. So starting with Aries and Aries, it's the same sign combo. And since it's a fire sign, you can expect a lot of fireworks.
Right. I'm about to say, it sounds dangerous.
Yes. Yeah. It can be super exciting in the beginning. The thing about Aries with an Aries is that they both get, an Aries gets bored easily, you could say. They like a challenge and they always need something new and exciting. So if you have two Aries, they're both going to desire that, which is good for the relationship. It should be really fun and exciting. The downside of Aries and Aries is that it can fizzle out really fast. Because neither of them have kind of like that staying power. Neither of them are the practical one. There's not what do you call that? It's not imbalance, but there's not enough difference, I guess you could say, between the two. And because they're fire signs and they're active and they're dynamic and they're very quick to walk out the door, the Aries combination can be like this wild, fun explosion, and then it's just like, I'm done and I'm out really quick. So if you're both Aries, you want to look at the other parts in the chart, like with any other sign combination, to give it the staying power. And it can be really, really fun and fast, exciting, dynamic. So I think of that as sparks flying more than any of the other two, because there's the Leo and the Sag, which is also fire. And there's also sparks there. But I think Aries is going to be the most dynamic of the three if you have Aries and Aries together. So have fun while it's there, and if it doesn't last, Aries tend to kind of move on pretty quickly. So yeah. So it'll be fun. I think it would be a lot of fun. Good arguments, as long as there's no violence in it. Stuff will come out. Good expression. Aries don't tend to hold their words, so you don't have to worry about a lot of unconscious, unsaid things going on in this relationship. It's almost the opposite, where maybe you don't want to say everything that you're thinking, but since Aries tend to talk before they think it's going to happen, and just be aware of that if you're an Aries dating an Aries, that words are going to come out, and do like Aries do. Let them come out, roll off your back, move on, make up, move on.
Right.
Yes. And if you have to move on to another sign, move on to another sign, but it should be fun while you have it. Okay, going on to Aries and Taurus. Very different combinations. So Taurus is an earth sign, and of the earth signs, it's kind of the most slow in terms of they do not rush into things. They're very practical. They're very realistic. Show me the facts, show me the numbers. And they don't really like to move fast. You know, they don't really enjoy racing here and racing there. They like to enjoy the moment, to take time with the pleasures of life, where Aries doesn't like to stick around anywhere for very long. So this combination could work, like I said, I say often, is depends on the other things in the chart. I'm sure there's Aries and Taurus who are just magnificent. Okay, very happy.
Magnificent.
But, yes, magnificent. I was trying to put the ly at the end, but it's not working.
Oh.
Mercury's retrograde, so I'm just gonna just not say that word today. But the positive side of it is that Taurus does think about things, like they're going to be more careful with what they do and what they say, and they're going to want to take their time, and so they can really help balance some of that Aries go energy. So that could be really nice between the two. What's the danger for the Taurus is that the Aries is going to get bored and be like done, and while the Taurus is like, let's just take our time, and like the doors are already shutting, like the Aries is already out the door. And so they're just very different energies, the two signs are.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Aries and Gemini, fun, like a lot of fun, kind of like the fun of Aries and Aries, but the Gemini is going to be more interested in the whole dynamic. Like they might even have some fun seeing the sparks, or having fun with their words. Like, oh, if I say that, they're going to be like, oh, they're going to go off, like, go crazy. But instead of getting mad and getting in an argument, and maybe it's being like, well, I'm done with you. Like, which you could see with the Aries, the Gemini is more like, well, I want to chit chat about this. I want to see where it goes. I'm really interested in the whole intellectual, cerebral part of it. So these two make a really good couple. They can talk it out. They both kind of have an ability to be to let things roll off. Like the Gemini can rationalize it, where the Aries is just kind of like, whatever, that was yesterday, I already forgot about it. Because Aries tend to explode and let it all out, and then they're fine. Where a lot of signs, so I mean, a lot of us like stew on things, like something happens, like we're still thinking about it a week later or a year later, where Aries isn't. They kind of like, they let it out, and then they're done. Like, I already exploded and yelled at you, so I'm good now. But the other person's like, I'm not good right now. I don't like what you said. I don't like how that made me feel. And the Aries is like, whatever, I'm sorry, let's go. And the other person's like, no. But Gemini's not going to be like that. Gemini's may want to talk about it, may want to argue about it, may want to have a lot of words about it. But they're an air sign, so they're going to be kind of more able and willing to engage and argue, and not let the Aries off the hook, but also not dwell in it. They're going to try to resolve it and then move on, because they have so much fun together. They don't want to break up necessarily. They want to, keep this going. So Aries and Gemini, a lot of fun and very social together and outgoing. These two signs are both really outgoing. So neither of them are going to be the couch potato type. And which is nice, because if one is like, a Taurus may be more of a couch potato type, and the Aries is more of like, I've never even sat on my couch. Do I even have one? Because I'm not home long enough to see it. You can see how that's really different, but not with Aries and Gemini. Moving on to Aries and Cancer. Both of these signs like to be in charge, but they go into things very differently. The Cancer tends to go more sideways. They're not like Libras. They're not non-confrontational. They just don't take things on directly. they're very protective, and they're very security oriented. And Aries may not be so security oriented, so that could be a good thing for them. So if one partner is and one partner isn't, then someone's kind of like holding down the practical side, where Aries is like in charge of the fun side. You know, the Aries does the vacation planning, and the Cancer pays the bills. But Cancer is definitely, it has a leadership side to it, and so they may really disagree on who's in charge. You know, the Cancer may let the Aries think that they're in charge, and the Aries probably does think that they're in charge. And the Cancer can very easily be like, okay, like, I think what you want, but it's still going to be my way, but I'm going to get my way going a little bit sideways, and and then it can work out. Yeah, there will be differences and disagreements. It is a 90-degree angle between these two signs, which is called a square in astrology. So there's challenges, but challenges make relationships grow. So I would say, even though this isn't like one of the signs that an astrologer is going to say, oh, Cancer is a great match for Aries, there's definitely potential for success there. But they are going to have to work through some competition over who's in charge. And the Aries has to be willing to stick around and face up some of the differences in the discussions that couples have to stay together. So, you know, there's a chance. Aries and Virgo. Now this couple really is so different that they don't really get each other. Virgo, right? Virgos are all about the details, and Aries really doesn't care about the details. They care more about the excitement and the adventure and the next challenge, and to create something. Aries are great at coming up with the idea, and Virgos are great at like doing all those little details to make it happen. But that's not going to be really the thing that's keeping them together. They're going to have like more similar things in other places in their chart. Otherwise, the Virgo is going to kind of be over analytical, over critical, over some of the things that the Aries does, and the Aries is just not going to want to take the time to deal with all that detail work. So that is going to be it's a struggle, and where they may find such great differences in each other interesting. Like, I don't get you, so I want to know a little more, because I really, you know, you're so strange, like in a good way, you know, like, you know, what is that all about? Because I so don't get it.
Yeah.
But to have staying power between an Aries and a Virgo, similar to Aries and a Taurus, is that there's going to have to be other things in the charts of the two people. And Virgo and Taurus are both earth signs, so you can kind of see how like maybe the earth signs with the fire Aries is not going to be the.
I always imagine like a fire sign burning the whole earth sign like up. I don't know. That's just that always comes to mind, like when I picture those two signs together. At least I know in my instance that's what happened to me. Like, I'm a fire sign and I got with an earth sign, and for me I ended up walking away, and it wasn't very good on the other sign at all. I beat myself up for a while for that, because I don't like hurting people, but it just wasn't for me.
Yeah, and when that energy doesn't mix well, and you're talking about a fire sign, I mean, fire signs, they go, you know, they have the energy and the ability to take that action, where earth signs are more passive, and they're going to stay longer in relationships. And so, it makes sense. The fire signs usually the one who's leaving, and the earth signs usually the one that's trying to like make it work, and or you know, seeing like the practicality of how to do it, when the fire sign is like, I don't really care about that. It's like, you know, they have two different objectives. They're working for two different things. So moving on to Libra. So Libra and Aries are really interesting because they're the opposite signs. And so they can really work well together if they can overcome their differences. I know I say that about the other signs, so let me be more specific. So Libras are about the other person. That's just their nature. It's the scale, and they're always trying to balance things out. And then the Aries, they're about me, myself, and I. And these things are like 100% whole of that energy. It's nobody's 100% Aries or 100% Libra, right? But if we're looking at the definition of these two signs as the the 100% whole of that energy, they have the me versus you quality. And so that's why they can be really great for each other, because the Libra can help the Aries understand the other person's point of view, and the Aries can help the Libra not always be so concerned about everyone else that they're not taking care of themselves. Can be really, really nice couple.
Yeah.
Yep. It's only a problem when you have some codependency coming into the relationship, which is more than likely going to be the Libra person, because they're so concerned about the other. And then the Aries, who loves to be all about themselves. And when they're with somebody who's all about them, they start to develop an imbalance in that relationship, where it becomes too much about one person and not enough about the other person. So there's, yeah. So Libra and Aries can be really great together, unless they go to the extreme ends. If they're playing out their extreme ends, then it's not going to work, but they could end up staying together because they develop this codependency that works for both parties, but it's not necessarily healthy for both parties. So they just have to watch out for that. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Aries and Scorpio, very different energies, but they are both ruled by Mars in the traditional rulerships in astrology. So Scorpio is very, what's a water sign. So Scorpio is going to be not so forthcoming. Scorpios don't tend to give everything away. They are very protective of themselves and of their emotional nature. And they have the poker face. You're a Scorpio, right? Scorpio moon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I knew there. Yeah. And it's like, they have this amazing ability to read people. They can read your mind. I'm dating a Scorpio, and it's, sometimes it's like he knows something and I didn't tell him. It's just, he's very good at reading or feeling it. I'm not sure if he's reading it necessarily, more feeling it, because it's a water sign. So these two, Scorpio is going to have a good idea of what the Aries is feeling or thinking. And then it just kind of depends on if they are interested too. So a Scorpio can leave, I think, fairly quickly a situation, just like an Aries can. But if they're really interested and they see it as kind of like this mysterious enigma to unravel, then the Scorpio might stick around and can be so mysterious and interesting to the Aries that the Aries is kind of like, you don't respond like most people do, right? Because Aries is that fiery, combustible, blah, just bursting with all this dynamic energy. And a Scorpio can kind of meet them, not so much the dynamic blah, like a Scorpio's not going to be all like fiery like an Aries, but they're going to have that burning, like there's like this intensity burning within them. And so they can be really attracted to each other. They just are very different, and they can, like, Scorpio is known for their vindictiveness, which I don't really think that they're all that vindictive, but they are protective, and they are extremely intelligent, and they're and they can they have staying power. So they can wait 3 weeks before they stick that Scorpio tail into you, and kind of like, you know what I mean? So Aries and Scorpio could be super interesting together, because they could have all of these underlying plots going on that people around them don't even know about. And that, they have like this interesting energy. And if they actually do stay together and they kind of get past this, the beginning and stages of a relationship where they're getting to know each other and they're there because the other person's so different but interesting, that after a while they do get to know each other, and then I think that they can make it work. But again, it's very different energy, and I don't think anyone ever could really know what is going on between this couple if they stay together, other than they're probably fun and they probably appear to others to be very different, but somehow they have this connection. And I think that their ruling planet, the Mars, kind of gives away, what that is, that there is activity, but it's not going to be the activity that you see with a fire sign or a fire air sign, because we're talking about water sign.
Right.
And there's just a lot of intensity and power in the sign of Scorpio. And there's a lot of intensity and power in Aries, but it's dynamic and diffuse, and it's really external oriented, where the Scorpio is internal oriented. So, yeah. So I'll go on to Sag. This is going to be a great couple together. Fire. And they'll probably have many adventures together. They'll be so fun. People will want these two people at their parties because they're going to be entertaining and they're going to have fun stories. And, there's never going to be too much silence in the room, not with these two people. They're going to get along great. It's going to be easygoing. If there's problems in the relationship, it's going to be because they're both dynamically going in their own ways and might get pulled away from each other for, I don't know, Sagittarius loves to travel. So, everything's great, but, oh, I got a job in Paris, France, so I'm going. Want to come? Right? And the Aries could say yes. The Aries could be like, yeah, what the heck? I'll sell everything. Let's go. Or the Aries can be like, no, I took a thing over there in California. So, hey, it's been great. Let's stay in touch. And these two people probably would stay in touch and maybe be friends for a long time. And who knows, maybe in 3 years, they end up,
back
on the
together.
same boat.
Right.
Back together. Yeah. Because they really get along well. I'd say that they're going to be friends, even if the relationship doesn't last. It is fire. So there's similar to the Aries, kind of like it can be too much fire and fizzle out because it goes too fast. Fire signs do tend to go fast. So fire, it can just go so fast and then fizzle out, because it just was like, we did the whole relationship in 1 year. Most people do this in 10 years. We did it in 1 year.
I can relate.
It's kind of like what we talked about, like a Sagittarius is born with 9 lives, but they have to live it in 1. So it's a great mix, but it's a very dynamic mix, and these two signs can't be held down, and they're going to go their own way. They both have an independent side to them. So, if they were, if it was 200 years ago and we weren't flying all over the place or getting jobs in other states or countries, then then a couple like this probably would stay together. But I think because of our modern age, that it's really easy to pull dynamic people apart from each other because we pursue our own thing. Yeah. Okay. Capricorn and Aries is, well, talk about who's in charge. Well, the Capricorn's probably going to be in charge because that's just who they are. They're the CEOs of the world. If we're talking about energy,
right?
I know not every Capricorn in the world, every CEO in the world is a Capricorn, but when I think Capricorn, I always think like the CEO, the person who just works and works and works to get to the top, and then eventually they get to the top. And if they meet in Aries, there's going to be two very leadership-oriented signs. We have an earth sign in Capricorn, which is going to be very grounded, someone who's not going to drop in everything and just go, which is what Aries likes to do. So Aries may not be super excited to be with the Capricorn, but they might be super excited about the power that a Capricorn has. So they meet a Capricorn, and it happens to be one of the, I shouldn't say happens to be, many Capricorns end up being successful because of their tenacity. It's just a character trait of them. They have that staying power, and they work really hard, and they're usually always focused on getting to the top of whatever they set their sights on. And then an Aries can find that really attractive. And then the Capricorn in an Aries can find it really attractive, somebody who does just go off on adventures and it is impulsive and fun, because they might like to get out of their Capricorn
routine.
Exactly. So it can be a good relationship if they're both willing to compromise, if the Aries can get the Capricorn to do some wild and crazy things, and then the Capricorn can help the Aries kind of like stay focused and finish something. That can work. But because I do think that Capricorn is just, it's like in their DNA to work towards security and attaining something that can be really attractive to an Aries. I think it's especially as we get older, as people get older, an Aries may have like had the time of their life, 20 years of fun and adventure, and have a lot of rich in experience, but maybe not so settled. After a while, they're just like, okay, I want to settle down. And then a Capricorn can be a real a person to settle down with, someone who's established and stable and can take care of them. Not that the Aries can't take care of themselves, because they very much can. They can, absolutely. But they can just feel like more grounded with the Capricorn. But there is going to be kind of like who's in charge, similar to the Cancer, because they're both leadership signs. They both like to be in charge and like to be in control. So they'd have to kind of designate, you can be in control of that, and I'm going to be, this is my thing. Even though Aries don't really take on a lot of like, how do I say this politically correct? That, because it's not that they don't take on responsibilities, but it has to be something interesting to them. Like whatever it is that Aries is going to be in charge of has to be something super interesting to them. Whereas a Capricorn can take care of whatever needs to be done. If it needs to be done, they get it done because it needs to be done, and it's going to get them what they want. Where Aries is more about what is interesting and fun to me, and then I can do that. Yeah. So. Okay, Aquarius is next, and this is an air sign and a fire sign, and so they'll get along wonderfully. Aquarius is different than the other air signs, and it has more of a social feel to it. Aquarius, the energy of Aquarius is more focused on the reform, comes up all the time, especially now that we have so much Aquarius energy going on. It's February, Sun's in Aquarius. But really they will be able to talk. They'll have a lot to talk about. If they're synced up on a cause, forget about it. This couple is going to be like always together, inseparable. If they met at some protest or met at some group meeting, or something they both really are interested in, really passionate about, I think they'll stay together for a really long time with those common interests and the excitement and fun of the talking and the outgoing nature of both of them. They're both dynamic, they're both active, so that's a really good match for an Aries in the Aquarius. And then the last sign for Aries is with Pisces, and Pisces is a water sign, so very different energy. Pisces does, I'm going to say this every time about a Pisces, is that they sometimes lose themselves in whatever it is that they're involved in, because they're so good at that. It's a good thing and a bad thing. It's a bad thing if they lose themselves by merging with whatever it is that they find interesting. But the good thing is that they can really get and understand the other person. Like they can really just tap into that energy. So the danger with Pisces is always if they get involved with somebody who isn't very good at noticing their own needs, noticing the other person's needs. I mean, so like if the Aries is with the Pisces and the Pisces is really excited for something, happy or down and sad, and the Aries is just kind of business as usual. I'm not noticing your feelings.
In their own worlds.
Yeah.
They tend to be that way.
Yeah. And the Pisces is very sensitive, and they're gonna feel hurt. Their feelings are gonna get hurt. So if the Pisces is able to kind of like vocalize their feelings, they might be able to establish a relationship that works. But oftentimes Pisces try to please the other, or to be a chameleon, to be the thing that other person wants, and then that's when they lose themselves. And but they also might try to make it work for too long, and then feel like a martyr or taken advantage of. And the Aries might just be happy as can be, because the Aries is like, okay, whatever. They don't cause me any problems. They don't complain. They do what I want to do. And then there's no reason unless the Aries gets bored, there's no reason to break it up. So there's just a little caution there, I guess, with an Aries and a Pisces. The caution more for the Pisces. Any relationship can work if you have other things that are working together. But if we're just looking at the Aries and Pisces alone, the Pisces might be like, what did I get myself into? And the Aries might just be like, oh, well, this is great. But then they'll probably get bored and be like, not great anymore. And then they'll just be gone. And the Pisces will be like, well, what happened? And, it always makes me sad if somebody's heart gets broken. And so we don't want any Pisces hearts to get broken. So Pisces, just be aware that, Aries are kind of like, here and gone. That's just who they are. They are constantly in need of excitement. And if you aren't like that, don't waste your time. It's kind of, find somebody who enjoys the kind of, the quality of time that you enjoy. I mean, that can go for every sign, right? I mean, an Aries should find somebody who enjoys the quality of action and always doing stuff. And so, they'd have to have other stuff going on in order for both to be equally involved in that relationship, because there's definitely an opportunity for imbalance to happen there. Okay. So that's all of Aries.
Okay. So what is next?
Next is Leo.
Okay.
Leo is the next of the three. And so Leos are the late July, August babies. And Leos are interesting because they're fire. So they're dynamic and they're active, and they definitely want to have recognition and be socially engaged. I mean, how many actors and actresses are Leos? I always think of Madonna when I think Leo. But what makes them different is that they're also a fixed sign, which is hard to understand because fixed signs can be stubborn, can be all about maintaining the status quo. And so we have to keep that in mind with Leos, that their energy is very different than an Aries energy. And Leo is ruled by the sun. So it's the only sign in the zodiac whose ruler is the sun. And the sun, the sun is, well, we know it's not a planet, but in astrology, we call it a planet just for the ease of communication. But it's a light. And the sun in astrology is our self. It's our ego. It's our identity. It's like who we are. And so when we're talking about the sign of Leo, we have to remember that their ruler is the sun. And so it brings our confidence in our ego and our identity into this sign. And we all have Leo somewhere in our chart. We may not have a planet in Leo, but we all have a horoscope. It's a round wheel with all the signs in it. And if you ever have your chart read, there's going to be Leo somewhere in there. And that's where we look if for identity, like how you're growing into your identity, and your ego and your generosity is associated with Leos. So it is a very generous sign. The Leo who's getting their proper recognition is going to be so kind and so generous and beneficiary. The Leo who feels that they're not getting their proper recognition or appreciation is not going to be very happy. They're going to be a cranky lion, and they're going to roar, and you're going to know about it, or you're not going to know about it because they're not going to be talking to you. Either way, you're going to know about it. Yes. So when you put Leo with the different signs, generally, like Aries, are going to be better matched with another fire sign or an air sign, and probably have a little more difficulty with the earth signs and the water signs. But we're going to go through each one and talk about it. So the first one we'll look at is Aries. Aries and Leo are both fire signs. They should get along swimmingly. And Leo might be really helpful for Aries because it is that fixed sign. So now you have fire signs, right? 2 fire signs, super active and dynamic and having so much fun. But Leo is going to be more of an anchor for the Aries person, because they do have a more of a fixed quality there. And so they're not really about running off and starting things, and they're not super changeable. So they can be that a bit of a rock, but not like a Taurus or a Capricorn, which is like a boulder, kind of like holding them down. It's just some ability to maintain something in the relationship and give it that staying power. So I think that's a really nice combination. The pitfalls pitfall for the Leo side is that the Leos do need that appreciation and recognition, and Aries can sometimes forget to do that, not because they don't feel that way, they just may forget to articulate it. And so, the Aries wants to definitely remember to appreciate their Leo. And then the Leo with the Aries, it can be helpful. It can kind of like, if they get in rut and stuck in a rut or stuck in a rut, I guess is what I'm trying to say, is the Aries can pull them out and be like, let's go, let's just go do this or go do that, and kind of shake them out of whatever it is they need shaken out of. But it's a good match. Very good. One of the better ones. A Leo and a Taurus together, both of these signs are fixed signs. So I'm just going to say right away that there can be a stubbornness on both parts, and that stubbornness can work in either direction. It can work they can be very stubborn about the relationship and be like, we're going to make this work no matter what. We're going to do this. Even though we're super different and we don't agree on much, we're going to make it happen, right? Yeah, I think that there's some interesting similarities in that the Taurus really love to enjoy the pleasurable things in life, the good food, having a good bottle of wine, or getting a massage, or, whatever feels good. And Leo's going to like that too. Leo likes to look good. They like to feel good. They love to boost their confidence, and a Taurus can help with that. So, they're going to have more challenges than maybe a Leo and an Aries, because they're so different. But if they can work around those challenges, and usually the way people do that is because they find ways to connect through other parts of their chart. So I wouldn't necessarily say that a Leo and a Taurus should not even try, but they should know that there's going to be some difficulties with just very different approaches to life, but also there's going to be similarities in their approaches to life. So, and they both have a creative side. Leo's known for their creativity. Taurus is also known to have some creativity, because Taurus is ruled by the planet of Venus, which brings that there's an artistic quality. Taurus may not be an artist themselves, but they usually have a really good appreciation and sense of art. And so, you can find these two visiting museums and doing things like that together. So, yeah. Leo and Gemini. These two will have a lot of fun together. It's a good match. It's air and fire, definitely a good match. And Geminis love to chat. Leos like to, they like to create. I mean, anything. Like when we say creativity, a lot of times people think of like an art or like a painter or a singer, but there's also many Leos who are creative in the boardroom, who make, amazing PowerPoint presentations, or who choreograph things, or do event planning. And you get like that kind of like even coworkers, like, Leos and Geminis meeting in the office and really appreciating each other's work, loving to work together, wanting to work together. It's like I could see these two wanting to work together because they have complementary qualities, where the Gemini can hold tons of details and is extremely chatty, and could throw them on a stage with a mic, and the words will come out even if they didn't rehearse them, and and then the Leo gets thrown on stage too, and the Leo's like performs, and they're both really good at that. Now if the Gemini tries to take the spotlight away from the Leo, then that might cause a problem. But generally speaking, these two are a good match. If the Gemini is flirting, the Leo might get jealous. So there's that. Geminis like to flirt. They're really good at it. Like that's just one of the gifts that was given to them. It's true. So they should be aware that their Leo partner or prospective partner might not appreciate that.
Yeah, they don't play them games.
Yeah. Okay. Leo and Cancer. So very different signs. You have a water and fire. And Cancer is going to be very security oriented, as we've talked about before. And Leo is well, Leo can appreciate that security, and Leo's a fixed sign. So they do have that in common. But a Cancer might be too indirect for the Leo, and the Leo may not want to play the games. And I'm not, well, that did not come out right. I apologize, Cancer. I am not saying that you're playing games. What I am saying is that the Leo may perceive it that way.
I want to interject really quick. Okay, so I'm a Sagittarius, and my baby daddy, father, whatever, he's a Cancer. And he likes to play games. I don't care what he does. He likes to play games. So I literally just got a text message he sent me this girl's picture. It was like, what you think of her? I'm like, oh, she's pretty. She's pretty. And he was like, yeah, she reminds me of you and blah, blah, blah. Oh, okay, that's great. And then he's like, she wants me to move to Savannah, which is like 3 hours away. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I wish you the best.
Yeah.
See, like, what are you trying to do?
Right.
What are you trying to? So that literally just happened, guys. So I'm not trying to put Cancers out there like you all play games, but
yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
Right. He's probably doing something sideways that he's not being direct with. There was another maybe meaning behind that. Like he's trying.
Of course it was, because he's always trying to get my attention and trying to work things back out. And it's just like, for me, I'm like, no,
right,
it's not gonna work out. And so he does stuff like this, and it's just kind of like, what are you doing? You probably don't even know this girl, but it's like, hey, if that's what you want to do, do you?
Right.
I'm sorry,
right.
I just had to throw that in there because you said that, and that literally just happened. So okay,
I'm so glad that you did, because that helps. I think it's a good example. And it's a good example of the perception thing versus like, what were they really trying to do? Like if he was here and we were asking him, like, what were you trying to do there? He'd probably have like he hopefully knows what he was trying to do. But
he would tell the truth. Because once he's caught, like, what are you doing?
Right.
He'll tell the truth. But it's just, for me, I'm like, I'm not even going to entertain you and ask you. It's just kind of like, what are you
Right.
doing? And I hope he listens to this podcast. So he hears me like, what are you doing, bruh?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. And my guess is he's not going to label it as game playing, but the fire sign is going to say he's playing games. And so there's just this kind of like incongruency between like the Cancer is trying to do this because they're trying to get this response, and it doesn't work, right? But they haven't figured that out because they're not Sag and they're not Leo, and they don't operate like a Sag and a Leo. So you have, you know what I'm saying? That you have these two. This is why Cancer and Leo probably aren't the best match. And it takes a lot of work. It's work sometimes with a sign that operates very differently than your own. And that's where in astrology we say, you know, air and fire signs work better together and earth and water signs work better together because they get each other's energy better. They kind of like operate in a similar way. So yeah, same with the Leo as the Sagittarius. They're going to be like, I'm not playing those games, and the Cancer's like, but I'm not playing games. I'm doing this. Well, they can't see me, but I'm like, I'm moving sideways.
Yeah, I'm not head on direct. I'm just gonna curve over here and see if I can get what I want this way.
Yeah.
And it's like, no.
Yeah.
Be direct.
Yeah.
What do you want?
Right.
And if you get turned down, it's cool.
Yeah.
At least you know.
Yeah. Yeah, and like a Sag is going to be more easygoing about it, but a Leo is going to be more stuck about it and kind of get it could be it's the confidence that can be hurt, or it's the ego, because it's the sign of the ego. And so if it's a Leo and a Cancer, you can bet that there's going to be ego being triggered on the Leo, and where the Cancer, it's their feelings and they're being overly protective and they're not necessarily approaching things straight. So there would be some work to do in this relationship. Okay, let's go to Leo and Leo. So speaking of Madonna and Sean Penn are both Leos, and yeah, look what happened to that relationship.
Yeah,
there was too much ego going on.
Yeah, she said that's her. I remember reading an article, and she said that was her
true love.
Her true love. That's what basically wrapping up. Yeah. Twin flame, something. That was something.
Yeah. I loved watching that. I was I remember that when I was in my younger years, and just like, oh, they were this royal couple of the entertainment industry. And I was always sad that didn't work out because they were both larger than life. You know, Leos can be larger than life with all that sun and ego energy. And so if you get two together, they have to be very careful with their egos, like check your ego at the door, which isn't it. But Leos, they're like, but I can't check my ego at the door because it's literally me, I check myself at the door.
Right.
It's just so much a part of who they are. Which I think is interesting when you think about how kind and generous Leos can be. Like they can really, really be kind and generous. And so if you have two Leos that are pretty self-aware and have, done some personal development, personal growth, they can be a good couple together, and just have to remember that they need to give each other the proper recognition and appreciation for what they do, because they probably do a lot. And sometimes I think Leos can get taken for granted because when they love someone, or especially their kids, oh my gosh, Leos are super protective parents. Do not, you better be careful if you have a Leo mother-in-law, father-in-law, in-law, because they're going to be really protective of the people that they love. So yeah, you get two Leo parents, like watch out, do not mess with that kid.
Period.
So, yeah. But it can work. Pitfalls like all the other sign combinations, but it can be a really nice and lovely dynamic relationship, and creative. Like, I would expect two Leo parents to have kids, because children are considered creativity in astrology. When you can create something, you can create an art piece, you can create a child. So, yeah. A Leo and a Virgo. So it's an earth sign and a fire sign, and they are very different. Virgos are known for their analytical ability. They really, you want Virgos on projects that include details because they're just so good at it. They can manifest stuff. They're earth signs, but Virgo is ruled by Mercury, so it brings some air. So they're like, intellectual and analytical and practical, all in the same bucket. And then you put them with Leo, who needs recognition and appreciation for what they do. And what tends to happen is that in their the Virgos attempt to help make things better, because they do like to make things better, they come off as critical and perfectionistic. And so if the Leo starts hearing all of these things that could improve the Leo may be like, no, I don't need to be improved. They might feel attacked. They might feel like this person doesn't see their better qualities, and all they're doing is always trying to criticize them and try to change them. So that can be a problem in this relationship, especially with a Leo. That a Leo's like, I don't need improvement. Why are you saying this to me? Who cares? So they could really have difficulties getting along. I'm trying to think of ways that they can get along. Virgo will appreciate Leo's ability to keep things going. That whole Leo being more fixed and has the staying power, keeping the status quo, but with some dynamic power behind it, because they're fire, so they're still going to be active. Virgo could appreciate the beauty that a Leo, the creativity, the things that they create that have some quality of beauty to it. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So the Virgo could really find beauty in something that Leo's doing. But they would really have to work at this relationship. So to just take caution about that. And if the relationship works, it's going to be because they have other things in the chart that help make that work out. A Leo and a Libra, it's a fire and air. They're going to get along fabulously. Libras are ruled by Venus, so they already have that kind of like a natural creativity, artistic ability to them. Even if they're, a scientist who's, not creating works of art, but they'll have some sort of, they'll bring something to that's artistic, or maybe the way they set up their lab is like, really beautiful and has, I don't know, nice colors or whatever to it. And so a Libra kind of has that way, and Leo is going to love that. They're going to love that, the way that the Libra is about harmony and appreciates the finer things and the artistic qualities, because Leo's also like that. Leo likes to create things, and they have the artistic quality. So they're going to get along well. Libra's an air sign, loves to talk and chat and communicate. The Leo is going to love that. The Libra is probably going to be really good at recognizing what the Leo needs to hear in terms of, oh, that shirt looks so nice on you, or, the way that the lights hitting your eyes, that Libras have that kind of like way of expressing things in this beautiful, harmonious way. And the Leo is just going to be like sucking it up, like, oh, tell me more, and they're going to be happy. And the Leo will appreciate the Libra's intellect as well, because Libras do have that into their air signs. So they like to also be recognized for their intellectual abilities and the way that they balance things and bring harmony. So good match, those two. Leo and Scorpio, and they're going to push each other's buttons for sure. I just see this like dynamic, contained I cannot talk today. Dynamic power being contained. That's what I'm trying to say. These are super like powerful signs, but neither of them are I mean, we're not talking Aries and Sag, you know, like just to kind of give it a contrast. That, I mean, Scorpio, we've already talked about, they keep things under control no matter what's going on inside, because, you know, oftentimes what can be going on inside is a hurricane, but you're not going to know it. They keep their cool, they keep the control, they want to have power over their emotions, they don't want anyone to think that they're not in control. And a Leo may perceive that the Scorpio's holding something back or isn't being honest, or that there's just, you know, something going on there, and then can kind of like try to push the Scorpio. The Scorpios is like, no, don't push me. And then I could just see these arguments rising up. And then they're both fixed signs. So they're both going to stick their heels in the mud, and neither of them are going to budge. Neither of them are going to compromise. And so they're really going to have control issues, power and control issues between them. If they can find ways, I shouldn't say better, but just find ways to communicate with each other, they may be able to work through some of this difficult energy. But I think that this will be a hard relationship. But if you make it through, like if these two signs really, really work out and stay together for a few years, it can be different, because the Scorpio is going to trust them. Like trust and loyalty are keywords for Scorpio. And yeah, I think that it's just going to take work. It's like, how much work do you want to put into your relationship? Is this person you know, if you want to do the work, then you'll find a way to make it work. But it's not going to be easy breezy, like, you know, a Leo and a Libra, or a Leo and a Gemini, where it's just going to be supernatural and super easy. Or a Leo and a Sagittarius, which is next. So two fire signs, and so the sparks will fly. The Sagittarius is really easygoing, and they're adaptable. Like the Sagittarius can really adapt to situations. They're not going to be super stubborn and stick their heels in the ground, and they're not going to be like, I'm in charge. You know, that's not really a Sag thing. Like they could be in charge. They have no problem being in charge, but they don't have this like burning desire, like I have to be in charge, like you know, maybe a Capricorn would.
Yeah, that's very true. I know for me, like if I don't have to be, I won't. But if I have to be, like if I have to take the lead on something or a project to make sure it's done right, then yeah. But if I don't have to be, I do not mind just standing in the background chilling at all.
Yeah. So these
me personally.
Right. So this is a really nice pair here. You know, you have easygoing Sagittarius, you have the Leo, who is can be very generous and benevolent, as long as they're appreciated for what they do. They're both fire signs. They're going to get each other. They're going to be active. They're going to want to do things together. They're going to want to create adventures together and have a lot of fun while they're doing it. So this is a good match. This is a very good match. Fire. It's a different kind of fire than what we've talked about with the Aries stuff, because now this is a fire combination, but not the Aries fire, and so it's a little more subdued. Fire's not subdued, but I'm just contrasting it with Aries energy. That these two signs together aren't as quick to shut the door, to quick to leave something, you know, like where an Aries is. So that there's good staying power with the Leo and the Sag.
And would you say it's because of that fixed?
I think it's the Leo side. Yeah.
Fixed,
the Leo is giving it a bit of an anchor, because Sag and Aries both can walk out the door in a second. You know, like they really, it's easier for these two signs to just be like, nope, I'm done, I'm out, peace. You know, have a good life. The Sag is going to be more about what's fun and what's fun for them, or what has meaning. Meaning is a good word for Sag. Where with Aries, it's about challenge and something new, and like, you know, they have to go do something that's never been done before. Where Sag is definitely a different quality of energy and a bit more relaxed, but just as independent. Okay. Then we have Capricorn. Capricorn and Leo, they are not very similar. There's probably not going to be one of the better matches for Leo. Yeah, I think that they have to, like a lot of these signs that don't have much in common, it's the other things that tend to bring these signs together. Like they can make it work when other stuff like really supports the relationship, and then the opposite. Because I mean, obviously, if you can have other planets and signs that help the relationship work, you can also have other planets and signs that make it work less. So does that make sense? So it really, sometimes you have to look at a whole chart to say like, oh, this is a good match. And I think that this is like some of the others I've mentioned, one of those cases that they're just different. The Capricorn could meet a Leo and be really interested in what it is that they're doing, because they're going to be creative in some way. Leos tend to be creative in some way, and the Leo could respect the Capricorn's position and status that they've worked really hard to get. Not appreciating it just because they're a Capricorn, but appreciating what they had to do to get to where they are, that they worked for it. They not really handed to them, that they've had to work for what they've got. So they could have like this admiration and appreciation for the other, even though it's so different, and be like, I want to know more because that's so different than my experience, and then build on that. Capricorn's an earth sign. It's going to be pretty security driven. They're, the older they get, the greater the chance that they're going to have a good amount of security. And a Leo might want that, I mean, especially if we're talking people that are still young enough to have children, but kind of older, where they've had some sort of career success. Then that could be a good match in terms of, when you're looking for somebody to have a child with, or because Leos do like to, procreate with the child connection. You can see that this pair getting together, even though they don't have a lot in common, but they might have a common goal, I guess, because Capricorns have goals. They're goal oriented, and a Leo could be goal oriented as well. And I'm just saying these as examples. I hope I'm not saying anything that I don't want to generalize or stereotype. That's not my point.
That's not the goal here.
Right.
I get it.
Okay. My mom's a Leo too, so every time I think about a Leo, I think about a mom, because I have a very good and protective mother. She's, very characteristically Leo, that she protect. Like if it was somebody else who did that, my mom might have a different opinion. But if it's her kid, like, oh, but has all the reasons why, we, this happened or that happened to you. Like she's really good. Like, oh, well, don't worry. The pandemic happened. You wouldn't be, whatever. That's my mom, and it's.
Got you. My best friend is a Leo, and he's a guy, and he's very protective, and he's very caring, and he's awesome. So yeah, shout out to Leos. Yes. You guys are awesome.
Yeah. If you want to date a Capricorn, you'll probably want to have similar goals, and then build on that and look at other parts of your chart. Because if we just look at Leo and Capricorn, you can say, not a very good match. And I'm sure astrologers do say that. If they have to say who's not a good match and who is, you're going to go with the air and the fire signs for Leo. But I wanted to look at every sign and also consider that there are many pairs of people who are together who are in those signs that astrologers might say aren't a good match, and they still have a good relationship. And to understand why that is because there's other parts of the chart that are important to take into consideration. And today we're only looking at sun sign to sun sign. Okay, the next sign is Aquarius. And so Leo and Aquarius, these are signs that are in opposition to each other in the zodiac. Every sign has another sign at the other side of the zodiac. And so this could potentially be a good match. They're going to help bring into awareness some of the shadow sides of the sign's personality. So Aquarius is very oriented towards this humanity as a whole, and they're being an air sign, they have the social connection. They're the most aloof of the air signs, the most disconnected, you could say. And so you have the Leo, who is about self-expression. So you have self-expression versus kind of like a sign that's all about the whole. And so it could be really interesting when these two come together and talk philosophy. They could have really good philosophical conversation. The Leo may need a little more recognition and appreciation from the Aquarius. And I think that if the Aquarius is really interested in the Leo, they're gonna kind of figure out pretty quickly that they have to kind of step up and give compliments. Don't just think it. Because you know how sometimes you can be with your partner and be like, oh, they look really good, but you don't say that. You know, you think it, but you don't say it.
Yeah.
And so Aquarians, you need to say it to your Leo partner. You really have to, they need to hear it. I mean, we all need to hear it, but sometimes might need to hear it a little bit more. And Leo happens to be one of those signs. And because Aquarius is more aloof than all of the other signs, I guess, that they may not be very good at paying attention to those details and have to kind of be reminded, like, I need to hear sometimes, you know, you can't.
These things.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's crazy you're on this match. The Leo that I just talked about, he's actually with an Aquarius, and they've been on and off for a long time. And those are some of the issues that they were having. I think they're working stuff out. They got married like a few months ago, finally, after like 13 years. So, and they're having a baby too. So things are progressing along.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I would imagine that this Aquarius Leo relationship, there's a lot to talk about. I mean, these are signs that will communicate. I mean, Aquarius will communicate, even though they're known to be aloof. They're an air sign, so the communication is just part of their makeup. And Leos too, they're all about self-expression. So there's a real opportunity for these two people to talk it out, even though they're very different. They're not different as in like the 90-degree sharp angle different. They're different as they're on the same line, just holding like the two extreme opposites. And so they can really bring that together and kind of like get in the middle of the teeter-totter instead of on the two opposite ends. And then they would be a good power couple.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And staying power, because they're both fixed signs. So they both can stick their heels in the mud and not move or compromise, which can be one of the problems in the relationship. But because they are on the two extreme ends of the same pole, it's not going to be like, you know, I don't understand you. It's just like, I don't agree with you. And they have to kind of like work it out and bring themselves back. Yeah. Okay. And then Pisces. So the last sign of the zodiac for Leo, they are fire and water. They're both creative signs. So they could really connect and probably would even meet in some creative capacity. They could make when I think of these two signs, I think, oh, that's nice. I could see them together, even though we're talking about fire and water, which generally we say fire is best with air and with fire. But I think that Leo, because they, I should say a developed Leo. I mean, there are definitely some extremely immature Leos who don't fit what I'm going to say right now about Leos. But the Leos who, you know, generally have kind of like developed, they will appreciate the Pisces artistic ability, but also their movability and their changeability and their adaptability and their sensitivity. The Leo can see all that and see it as like maybe a piece of art and really appreciate that, and then be protective of that, kind of like take that mama bear approach. Because if you see someone and you see that they have like some vulnerabilities to merging, like, because the Pisces, just they're the only sign that's a water sign, is a changeable sign, and is of the polarity that's more passive. So they're just like as watery and adaptable as you can get. So they're always at that risk of kind of like over giving and over merging and not holding boundaries for themselves. So you have a Leo who comes along and sees this dreamy Pisces with their rose colored glasses on, and the world is beautiful kind of thing, and might want to protect them and fall in love with them at the same time. And I just think that it could be a nice partnership. But if it's the other kind of Leo who's not self-developed, who's egotistic, and who is brags too much, and who kind of like puts people down in a joking way to make themselves feel better, they're not going to be a good match for a Pisces. It's going to be too hard on the Pisces, and can turn into a really negative codependent kind of relationship, because sometimes the Pisces takes too long to pull themselves out of it, or they want to save. Pisces are known to serve or sacrifice, and that's how they sometimes get into these situations. They're trying to save and serve, but what they end up doing is sacrificing themselves. So there's a potential there, but you really want to evaluate the where the other person is in terms of self-development. And of course, that's a general statement for everybody, dating. We all want to try to come into it as whole as we can. If we come in broken looking for somebody else to fix this, we're going to meet somebody else as broken as we are. And we all are at some level. Like, just where are we, and who are we attracting? And if we find we continue to attract someone, we think that they're this and they end up being that, and it ends up being an unhealthy relationship, we have to recognize that we need to develop something in ourselves, take ourselves up to a higher octave, and then we can start.
I love that you put that in there, because that is very, very, very true. Yeah. Regardless of what sign you are, that's very true.
Yes.
So, yeah. Okay. So last but not least.
That's right. The fun never stops, Sagittarius.
Yeah. Okay.
I have dated Sagittarius, and I have friends that are Sagittarius, and they're just so much fun. So much fun. They're also easy to go. It's like you want the Sagittarius there because they're so fun, but you can't always get the Sagittarius there, because if you're not fun to them, they're not coming. They're not showing up.
Oh my God.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. One of my best friends is a Sagittarius, and I remember a couple of times she didn't show up to something. I mean, I've known her for a long time, and I was so hurt. And I was just like, it just wasn't fun enough for her to show up. Because I was like, I took it personally at first. It's like, she's not my friend. She didn't show up to my party or whatever. And
I'm really bad at that too, because I have the type of personality though, like, yeah, if it's not saying if it's not fun, but for me, it's more so if you don't really need me, and I got other stuff going on, it's like, all right, y'all have a good time. Or I'll be like, I'll think about it, and then you're anticipating on me to come, then I don't come, and then people are like hella pissed at me, and it's like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's just the way that they are. It's just the way you are. They're freedom oriented, that more than independent, it's about freedom. Because I think a lot of us are independent, meaning that we pay our own bills, we have our own house, and we have a car, whatever it is that, it's independent. But that doesn't mean that we're free. And Sagittarius is about freedom. They want to have that out. They want to, if they want to jump on a plane and escape for 3 months, they just, I mean, that's just an example. Not every Sag, that doesn't mean freedom for every Sag, but just the knowing that there's a a way, an out, somewhere that they can go, and that you can't hold them down, right?
Yeah, that's true. Well, just depending on the type of level that they are, you might want to jump on a plane for 3 months and just kind of escape, or you might be somebody like me, like I have a kid and I need time to myself. Even so, I thank God for my mother. My mother's a Cancer, and we're totally different. Like with her, we were her world. My son is my world, but I also realized for me, like, hey, I need time to myself. Let me go for a drive. Let me do this. Let me do that. And that's, for me, that's my little escape to just like, know, so.
Yeah. There you go. So if you want to date a Sag, you have to give them freedom, and you have to trust that they're not messing around on you. And they might be, but if they are, there's other problems in the relationship that should give you the clue that that's what they're doing. But if it's a good relationship, and then give them the freedom, because
they just want a little bit of space. It's not really, And sometimes, I know for me personally, like when I was dating my son's father, that was me. Like I liked just space, like sometimes just to be by myself, and he took it totally left and thought I was doing different. And it definitely wasn't that for me. I just know I like my own space, and it just helped me with just like my clarity and stuff. So
yes. So I think that's the key thing for Sag, and it extends a little bit beyond physical freedom. It's also the mental freedom, or ideal, like the way your ideals, your belief systems, your faith, things like that. You have to, it's a core essence of Sagittarius is the philosophy. So with Sagittarians, they're really fun, and I think that when it comes to dating, there's kind of no lack of suitors for a Sag, because they're so fun. And I think probably hearts get broken because the Sages need their freedom, and Sages will settle down, they will, but they have to have a partner that gives them the freedom, and also gives them the freedom of thought, and actually engages in conversations about those things, because that's what's going to keep it interesting. So if you put Sagittarius with an Aries, it's adventure time. Here comes trouble. Right? So you have Aries, which is like the most dynamic, get out the door and go sign, with the Sag, who's kind of like up for anything sign. And it's like, watch out. These two are a lot of fun. As with the other fire signs, there's a possibility of fizzing out fast, because it goes fast. The fire tends to just like burn right through. And so you'd need some other things, like maybe some earth sign or water or earth signs connecting somewhere else that's kind of grounding the relationship. But it would be fun. And I imagine that they can be friends unless the Aries says something really offensive, because Aries do tend to say things without thinking. And Sag can be like, I have about 50 other friends. So, if you're offensive to me, then I may not need to keep you around. So there's so there is that with the Sag and the Aries, and that could be the thing that fizzles it all out.
That's kind of what happened I've been with a lot of different signs. That's kind of what happened with my Aries and dynamic. So that's funny you bring that up too. So yeah. Then
you put Sag with a Taurus, who's like so different. They are the Taurus can be, if the Taurus is the type of Taurus that really is a homebody and a couch potato, which, and I don't mean that in a negative way. So I'm realizing I say couch potato, and some people might think that that's a insulting reference, and I don't mean it that way. Just there are Taurians, many of them, who they really do find peace and pleasure from staying home, and whether it's watching television or reading a book or cooking or whatever it is that they're doing at home, that they just prefer, that is a good life for them. And when we talk about some of these fire signs, especially Sagittarius and Aries, they're a active sign, and probably more outdoorsy than the Taurus, who's probably more indoorsy. And so they just really don't connect on that level. And so if you're a Sag with a Taurus, it's probably one of the first things that you're going to want to figure out if it's not obvious, because if you have an outdoorsy person dating somebody who doesn't like the outdoors, it's not going to work in the long term, because the time that you spend with your partner, you can't do the things that you want to do, you know, unless you both can find ways to enjoy the other person's thing, like truly enjoy it. But if you're just begrudgingly going on that camping trip, and you know, after 3 years, you're just like, I just can't do it anymore. Like in the Sag, just like, but this is what I live for, is to go camping. Like, that's not going to work. But, you know, if you can find a way to really enjoy the other person's hobbies, then maybe you can make it work. But, you know, that's what the Sag and Taurus is going to have to figure out really quick, because they really don't get each other. And in the beginning, it can be that excitement of something really different and strange from me, not strange, but strange as in it's foreign to me. That can be a good attraction. But before you spend too much time with a partner who you're never going to want to spend your time doing the same things together, that might not be the best match. Moving on to Gemini. So Gemini and Sag are opposite signs, and they can get along really well. And so, you know, when we talk about this, the extreme ends of the same line, with Sag and Gemini, we're talking about objective, rational, logical thought versus your ideals and your spirituality and your faith and your belief. So that's where these two can really like hit it off, and have maybe even like really not like each other when you first meet, because maybe you're arguing about these things, but you argue so much, or maybe you run in the same social circles, or maybe you've even known each other for like 5 years, and then all of a sudden you realize that you're like in love. I mean, that's the kind of stuff I could see with the Sagittarius and a Gemini, because they're very active and social, but they have like, it's all about the belief system and and like rational thought. You know, like you could get to have someone who's really religious for whatever faith they're in, and then they meet somebody who's like super spiritual but not religious, right? And then they get to arguing, but really over time they find that they have more similarities than differences, but they're like dogmatic in the beginning. But yeah, almost more cerebral in the beginning, and exciting, and like, you know, argumentative, and but they're engaged. And then over time, it just, you know, they get to be like best friends, and then the best friends end up being romantically involved, and then you're going to their wedding. Yeah, it can be really exciting between these two.
Okay.
Yes. Sagittarius and Cancer. So Cancer being a water sign and Sag is the fire sign. They I'm trying to think what do they have in common first. So there's not a lot in common between the water and the fire. The Cancer does tend to take charge. Like there's that leadership quality, and maybe that's probably where they could connect in the beginning, is that the Cancer really doesn't shy away from taking responsibility. They might go at it sideways, but they're not going to shy away from it. And they might, or they do embrace it. They do really well at being leaders. And you know, Cancers have some qualities that are fun. Like they're known to have a good sense of humor, and that they can you know, cook up a good meal, or make the room laugh, and super sentimental. They remember stuff, so you know, they can bring things from, you know, 10 years ago, like remember that time, or you know, or I kept this thing that you know, we did from 5 years ago, or whatever. They can bring a lot of quality to a conversation, which a Sagittarius is going to really appreciate more than the other fire signs, because they have that philosophical part to them. They may not agree so much on that freedom stuff, where Cancer is going to be a kind of more not possessive, but they just want their person with them all the time. Like they love that nurturing and involvement. And where Sag is going to kind of get uncomfortable and be like, oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, okay, can I just have like a day, a me day? So there's going to have to be compromise there. Sagittarius is the more changeable one, and so the Sag can give a little bit. The Sag will give a little bit in a relationship with the Cancer if they feel like they really do have that freedom, that they might stick around more with their Cancer, knowing that their Cancer is more than supportive when they say, look, I just need some time to myself. So if that can happen, then, and there's other parts in the chart that are working, then they could be a fine couple, get along just fine. Okay, then we're going to move on to Leo. So Sag and Leo, 2 fire signs, so they'll be the sparks. Leo is the fixed one, so the Leo is going to be kind of more of an anchor for the Sag. And as long as the Leo is getting their proper recognition and appreciation, then they're going to be super generous with the Sag and super supportive, and they'll create fun little things to do together and go on some adventures together. But if a Leo is kind of like the egotistic kind, because the Sag isn't going to put up with all that ego, like they're going to like cut them down to size. And if the Leo's really being exaggerating and bragging and being egocentric, but it's developed enough to hear the Sag, then they can work it out. But if it's one of those Leos that's just kind of like a little too full of themselves, you know, you think of like the movie star kind of people, the Leos who do get to be famous and like are getting all the fans and the comments and the likes and all that. And then they get with a Sag, and the Sag is just kind of like, whatever, you're just like my boyfriend to me. You're not like the person on the cover of the Rolling Stone, whatever. That's when it can get kind of like, you know, and then you have the 2 fire signs are just kind of like, okay, well, I'll go my way and you go to your way, like, whatever. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes too much fire, just it doesn't hold together. But because Leo is the fixed one, then you have a better chance of sticking it out with the Leo, as long as they're not overly egotistic, because Sag's going to have nothing to do with that.
Right.
Sag, yeah. They don't tend to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least for myself. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
I'm not that at all.
No. And Sag is not a sign that's going to stick around and wait for the other person to kind of like do better or figure it out. It's just kind of like, I'll tell you once. Sagittarians are brutally honest. They'll tell you, and if things don't change, they're just not going to give it a lot of time. Leo will probably give it more time, but if it's the Leo who's overly egocentric, then it's probably not going to work out.
Got you.
Yeah. The next sign is Virgo. Sagittarius and Virgo. They are in a challenging relationship, and I mean, it's possible. So let me try to, hone in on where do they share. They both appreciate the, I keep wanting to say the detail. Sagittarius does not appreciate the detail, but they might appreciate what a Virgo can do with that detail. You know what I mean? They might be kind of like, wow, you did all that?
Yeah.
Or, you know, like, let's partner. I worked with Sagittarians, and I have a little Virgo in my chart. I'm not a Virgo sun, but I remember how she always loved, we loved working together, because like I could take care of this part of it, and then she would take care of this other part of it, because I was more of the detail person.
Yeah, so Sagittarians are more of like the bigger picture. Like they want to get to the bigger picture. Like all the details is just like, right. At least that's definitely me. Like, yes. So if you think about it in a relationship, if a Sag doesn't like that stuff and they're with a partner who does and is good at that, then that's where I was trying to find the words before, but it can make a good couple, because then the Sag is free from having to deal with paying the bill, or, you know, writing every line in the checkbook and balancing the
checkbook and making sure the laundry's taken care of and all this
Right.
other stuff. Right. So it could work out as long as the Virgo feels like they're not doing everything and the Sag is doing nothing like this. They'd have to have other ways of like working things out. But if they did, this could make a very harmonious living situation, especially if the Virgo had like other fire stuff in their chart and the Sag had other earth stuff in their chart, then, they could work things out pretty well. Yeah. Yeah, and then the pitfall is the same thing, that the Sag gets kind of bored with the Virgos, like doing every little nitpicky detail, and no, you can't put the box there. You have to put the box there. Like, who cares where the box goes? It doesn't matter. And then they have this big fight because the box was 3 feet. One wanted it here and the other wanted it 3 feet over, and it's like. It doesn't matter. It did to the Virgo, but it doesn't to the Sag. And so they have petty fights and can't get past the petty stuff to figure out how to work together. So now I'll leave it to you, Sages and Virgos, to see if you can work it out. And then there's Sagittarius and Libras. So this is a good matchup. It's a fire and air. Libras love the harmony and they love the social chattiness and the adventure. The Sagittarius want to adventure, and so they can really have a great time. Sagittarius is the adaptable and the changeable one, so it's like if Libra wants to be in charge, whatever, be in charge as long as you're like taking care of stuff, then go for it. Sag may not like the Libra's indecisiveness, but then the Libra can just be like, well, you decide. And then the Sag can just decide. and then that'll be that. I think that they really will be able to work things out very well. They're both active. And so neither of them are tend to hold things in and let things stew. Which is nice. And I think the pitfall is that the Sagittarians can be very honest and blunt, which Libras can not, it depends on the Libra, but the Libra doesn't necessarily like the bluntness. They don't want to hear that maybe they're not having a good hair day, that like, oh, you're having a bad hair day today. The Libra's like, I'm going to go cry in a corner right now, and I'm not leaving the house now on that adventure that we were going to do, but now we're not going to do. I'm going to go do my hair again. So the Sag just have to watch a little about how blunt they are with the Libra.
Yeah, I definitely can agree with that. I also dated a Libra for a while, and I was always called mean, and I'm like, how am I mean? And I guess little things I would say or little things I would do, or if I didn't agree with something, I was mean. Or if I did stick my, my feet in the mud about something because I felt like I was being taken advantage of or something like that, I was mean. So whatever.
Yeah, Libras can be very sensitive, especially about looks. So, it's best to just say nothing to a Libra, then unless they ask. I mean, if they ask, but then you still have to be really careful about how you tell them that you never say, yes, that skirt makes you look fat. Like you never ever say that. Well, you really shouldn't say that to anyone, right? It's just not really very nice. But you might want to say, that other skirt that you have, that's really nice, and that I told you last time you wore it, I loved it. Like, why don't you wear that one? Then you don't have to say, no, it doesn't look good. And you still help them to get into something different that everybody's happy with.
Right.
Yeah? So it's all about how you say it. But Libras can be sensitive to that because Libras tend to be sensitive to how they look. Like they always try to look as nice as they can and to be very put together. And so they tend to ask, but then they don't really want to hear that they don't look good. So it's better to like distract and to throw out like another alternative. But yeah, I mean, if that's kind of like with Sag and Libra, where I see them having, they're really a good match is what I'm saying. So we'll just leave it at that. So, okay. A Sag and a Scorpio. Speaking about honesty, like, oh my gosh. So put a Scorpio and a Sagittarius together, and they're going to have brutal honesty going both directions. And so this could be really good. And it also could be a little too much for them. Scorpio's a water sign, and it's a very reflective sign and introspective, and they really like to get to the heart of things. They really want to know. They want to know everything. They want to know everything about you, all of your deepest, darkest secrets. Sag is like, well, I don't have any deep and dark secrets. Like, I am who I am. Like, right. You want to roll with me or not? And so they could just really not get each other and not have enough interest, because Scorpio does like to like peel back every single layer and really like get down deep. And Sagittarius doesn't really care to do that. I mean, yes, they want to talk about philosophy. They want to get into deep philosophical subjects. So if you want to go there, fine. You know, if the Scorpio wants to kind of challenge somebody's belief system, or not challenge it, maybe just understand it better, then they're going to have something to talk about. But if the Scorpio's trying to peel back the layers just for the sake of peeling back the layers, Sag is going to be like, I don't understand why you need to do that, and it's boring, so let's go do something fun. And the Scorpio's like, but this is fun. Fun for them, but maybe not for the Sag. So they may not have enough to keep them going over time. Obviously, the other stuff in the chart can make it work. But it just may be too much brutal honesty and not enough like interest in the quality of the time that they're spending together. They might just be on completely separate pages with what they want to do with their time with each other. Then you get to Sag and Sag. It's like, whoa. No, so these fire signs, Sag is the changeable one, right? Like really easygoing. So now you have two really easygoing fire signs. Like, what do you want to do today? Like, whatever you want to do, let's just do something. And then, okay, well, how about we'll on a hike? That sounds awesome. And I was thinking we go have like brunch at so-and-so place. Awesome. Let's do both. You know, like just kind of bouncing off of each other, and like, you know, your idea and their idea just tends to go together. Like, you know, I don't know, chocolate and peanut butter, or what, peanut butter and chocolate, whatever it is that you like. They're going to have no lack of ideas of things to do and of optimism. And because Sagittarius are very optimistic and can do, they're going to just really, really be fun. It's just that freedom thing. It's like, as long as where they want to go is taking them in the same direction, it's fine. And it's just, you know, I guess it's the stage of life where you meet, because if you have two Sagittarius meeting and dating in their early 20s, when they're not at all ready to settle down, like they're still soiling their oats kind of thing, they're probably not going to stay together. And it's not going to be because they don't want to. It's just because they have so much life to live that they may be taken in different directions. But if two Sagittarius meet later in life and they're both kind of ready to settle down, then it could be really harmonious between them. And just, I think it could work really well. Moving on to Capricorn. No, they don't really get each other. This Earth sign.
They don't.
No.
I'm sorry. I didn't even. Oh my God! Like, I don't.
No. Anyway. And you know, we've talked about Capricorn already with a few other signs, and so we know that Capricorns are very goal oriented. They're security oriented. They like power and control. They like to be in charge. They're the CEO type. So. And, you know, you could say power and control for Scorpio. Scorpio likes to be in power and control of themselves, but and of others. But Capricorn's more of like in power and control, like in the world. You know, they want to have material proof that they have power and control. Whereas Scorpio may be more concerned about having internal power and control, or even having some control over people, whether it's in a positive or negative way is like a whole other show. But for Capricorn, when I say power and control, they're really about having some sort of status of success that they can show to the world. And Sagittarians tend to do the same thing without necessarily having that driving, motivating desire to do it. Like, because Sagittarians are more lucky. They follow their heart, and they tend to fall into things that they enjoy, and they tend to be successful at it. And then they grow from there. Whereas a Capricorn has a goal, like usually a written goal, overall goal with sub goals and with SMART goals that it can be measured and, proven. And every year they're better, or they have more money, or they have more cars or bigger houses, or, whatever it is. So you put these two energies together, and the Sag might feel too constrained. Even though they may have freedom, they don't maybe feel that kind of freedom, because they get kind of sucked into the Capricorn world of materialism and success, growth. And so there's not really room to do things in a Sagittarian way. And the Sag, if they want to be in a relationship, they want to do stuff with their partner. And a Capricorn is not going to be all that available to drop what they're doing and to take off and go have some fun adventure with the Sag. And then if they do, they're probably going to bring all that stuff with them. And they're there, but like in their head, they're like writing a business presentation, or they're thinking about, the next, I don't know, million they're going to make, or I'm exaggerating now, but they're thinking about what is waiting for them back at the office, I think is probably a better way to say that even though they're there, they're not really there. They're kind of more absorbed in the things that they're building. And when a Sag just wants like an accomplice to go have fun with them, just, like let loose, like let your hair down, and like, don't be so uptight and worried about all that stuff. And a Capricorn just can't do that, unless they have a bunch of Sag or fire or air in their chart. They're probably just going to be too different.
Yeah, I know. I've grown to appreciate like Capricorns later on in life. I have Capricorn in my chart. My Venus is a Capricorn, but I didn't get along with Capricorns for a long time, and I still don't. They still make me kind of, when I get to know them, but I've grown to appreciate all of the traits that you mentioned before, especially with me trying to be a business owner and all of that stuff. Yeah. I've definitely grown to appreciate them, but they, on a romantic level, it's a no for me.
Yep. Yeah. That's just a really different energy. And in astrology, we have lots of examples of signs that are in like two signs next to each other, how different they are, but some of them are more different than others. I like how you said later in life you appreciated the energy of Capricorn more, because I think that that's like, it's a human thing. It's not an astrology thing. Like, as we get older, we mature and we develop, and we get a better idea of what we want and what we don't want, or we don't want anymore. Because, sometimes we just grow out of things, and that we might want more security and to have more material possessions because we need them. I mean, we live in a world that's based on materialism. We have to have a roof over our head. We have to eat food, and we have to have income in order to do those things. So we do change and grow, but we still need to meet the partner on a few different levels. So that's when you want to look at other parts of the chart and find out where you have your similarities and where you have your difficulties. But I think it's much easier as we get older. And when we're younger, and this is a dating program, so a lot of people here, or probably the majority, are single. Would you say that the majority of are single, or is it a lot of couples?
I think it's a lot of people that are probably single who listen to this podcast, and then people who, because I speak a lot about attachment theory and the subconscious mind, they could be dating people and trying to figure things out as far as maybe they're having issues in their relationship. So I would hope it's a mixture of both, but it's probably a lot of single people.
Yeah. So if you're single and you're young, you're working a lot of stuff out, and I hope that you wouldn't not date somebody just because an astrologer said that you're not a good match, but to keep these things in mind, so you kind of know where to direct the conversations and to the things that you should talk about that's going to help you grow. And then if you're older and you are looking to settle down into a more serious committed relationship, then you definitely want to know about these things to talk about it and work it out. But it is quite fun to look at the different signs, especially people that you've dated, and to help that with your own personal self-growth and development. That's really what this is all about. You know, relationships to me are all about that, whether it's a friendship or a romantic partner or a family member or a coworker. Everyone that you meet is helping you grow, and everyone you meet has an astrology chart and a sun sign that you're interacting with. So there's a lot to learn. Anyway, let me move on. We're almost finished. So we did Capricorn and Sag. So now we're going to do Aquarius. So a Sag and Aquarius it's air and fire. So they're going to be a good match. They're going to have a lot to talk about. Aquarius is usually the one who has some sort of cause that really gets them motivated and going. And they, like to talk. They're a social sign, they're an air sign, and Sagittarius loves to talk about stuff, especially anything that has to do with a belief system and philosophy and or travel and fun and or higher education. All these things are like, Sagittarius keywords. So I do think that this is a really good match. Aquarius is a fixed sign, so Aquarius is going to be more of the stay the course kind of person, and could help with this couple with the Sag, who may be more inclined to kind of blow with the wind. The Aquarius might be the one that's more grounding to them, and kind of holding the status quo, keeping the relationship going, keeping it mentally exciting, because they're going to come from more of a mental place, because air is the mind and the intellect. That could also end up being the pitfall between these two, is that the Aquarius might be so focused on their own cause that they put that in front of everything else. So I mean, that doesn't have to happen. It's a potential pitfall. But overall, I think this is a really good match. It's going to be a lot of conversation, and they're both active signs, so they're going to do things together. Yeah, very nice. The last sign is Pisces, and this will be the last one of the fire trio as well. So Sag and Pisces, they fire and water could make the boiling, right? Fire and water makes for hot water. If anyone can get Pisces really boiling, it's going to be Sagittarius, because Pisces also is going to have this component of spirituality to them, because they're the water sign who's easily adaptable, and they're more reactive than proactive. And so they have this ability to really tap into the unconscious, to tap into creativity. They are, one foot in this world kind of thing, and one foot in the other world of the collective unconscious. And so they are, oftentimes they're psychic, or they have, things come to them in dreams. They're artistic, they're compassionate, they're empathetic. They can really join and understand. So with a Sag who can be also super spiritual and super philosophical, they can really get into a belief system. And it's not like something that they're just blowing hot air. This is Sagittarians have to find something that really speaks to their heart. And so they can connect on that level, but they could also hurt each other, because probably more Sag and the brutal honesty, like they just they don't beat around the bush. They say it how they see it. And a Pisces is a more sensitive. And so if they're on the same page, they can be two peas in a pod, right? But if they're not, the Sag can be like popping all the Pisces bubbles, you could say. It's like, I have all these beautiful thoughts, and the Sag is like, no, pop. It's not that, it's this. And then the Pisces is like, oh. So they it's a challenge. I think that if the Sag really falls in love with the Pisces, that they're going to take more care about that when they start learning what it is that they're doing could hurt the other person. They're going to have fun indulging in like if they like wine, like they're going to have a blast. They're going to have a bottle and they're going to drink and they're going to laugh and they're going to chat and talk and they're going to go into their own little world, and it's going to be beautiful.
Right.
So it can be a really nice connection. And then the Sag with the Pisces, so if the Pisces is really like eccentric, artistic type, the Sag can be entertained by that and like be attracted to that. But if the Pisces is more on the serve, sacrifice, and suffer side, the Sag may not have time for that. Sag might be like, yeah, it was fun for a while, but if you're going to get, I'm trying to think of words that aren't going to hurt Pisces feelings, but Pisces can sometimes get too clingy and too emotional and cry and be kind of, don't leave me. And the tears, and the Sag is just like, that's not really my, I don't even believe in that kind of behavior kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like I'm not relating to why you're so emotional about this. Like, we were only together for 3 weeks. Like, why are you upset? You know what I mean? Like they're just coming from different places. And that's not to minimize that the Pisces is really feeling that. And it's true and it's real for them. But that's where this disconnect, this challenge between the two kind of comes up. Because we're talking brutal honesty to, super a person who's already like merged, like kind of like, but you're part of me. And so, or young people, like a young Pisces person that can easily like fall in love because they're so open. They just have this kind of like beautiful open heart, and the Sag is like, it was beautiful, but I'm 25. Like, what did you think was going to happen? I thought this was just like fun for a little bit, and then I'm moving on. And the Pisces was like, I thought we were going to like be together for the rest of my life. Okay, now I'm exaggerating, but just to make the point that the two people could enter a relationship with very different perceptions,
perspectives,
what it's going to be, and get. And the Pisces is probably likely to be the one getting hurt, and the Sag is likely the one to be leaving. I know that's you can't say that that's 100%, but that's like the more likely situation. And that's it. That's the 12 signs.
Well, I want to thank you again for coming on to give us the breakdown for the fire signs in the zodiac. Next week, we'll come back with the water signs.
Okay. Sounds good.
So where can the audience find you, Lori?
The best place is on my website. It's Lori Barnes Astrology, and I spell my name Lori and then Barnes, astrology.com. And there's a lot of blogs there. Right now, Mercury's retrograde. And so if anyone wants to know more about that, I have some information on my site. So I would say go there. I also have a Facebook page. So Lori Barnes Astrology on Facebook. And I just started a private group. It's called Astrology Chats. And I monitor that. So if anyone has any specific questions, you can ask to join that group, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, that sounds good. And I want to thank all of the listeners who tuned in today. And until next time.
Thank you for tuning in to today's show. If you liked this podcast, please download and subscribe. If there's anything you would like to talk about in regards to relationships, or would like to be a guest on the show to speak on relationships or get advice, you can always connect via social media at Playing for Keeps or email DJ at info@p4kdating.com. Thank you for tuning in, and bye for now.